All right. We're going to go ahead and we're not going to get, wow, let me restart. And this is recorded. Great. We're going to wait to get started a couple minutes so that other folks can join. It will be probably around 12:05. Folks are welcome to have their cameras on or off as they would like. But we'll get started in about 5 minutes. Thank you all. All right, welcome to the folks who just joined us. We'll get started in about 5 minutes just to give folks time to join. We had a couple more folks join. Just to let you know, we'll start at 12:05 to give other folks time to join and get situated. Thanks so much for joining us today. All right, everybody who registered is here, so we're actually going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the 2024 South King County Outreach Services Request for Proposals information session. Today is October 30th, 2024. Please note that we are recording this info session so that we are able to post it to our website for folks who aren't able to attend today, and also for folks who would like to refer to this later on. I am Eli Griffin. I am a procurement coordinator here at KCRHA, and I am the lead for this procurement process. Also here with us today from KCRHA is Abby Anderson, who is a planning coordinator on the planning team, Marta Asfa, who is a senior program coordinator on the programs team, Janelle Rothfolk, Community Impact Assistant Director, and Catherine Stark from the contracts team. And these folks are here to help answer questions during our Q&A session later today. Today, we're going to have a high-level overview of the RFP. Please ensure to review the full RFP for all details and regularly check our website for updates. Today, we'll go over the background of the RFP, timeline, funding, eligibility requirements, contracting requirements, submission instructions, selection process, project scope, rating criteria, and then we'll have a question and answer section at the end so you can ask us any questions that you have about this process. So this request for proposals is for outreach services in South King County. You will hear me refer to it as SKC going forward. Um, we expect to award one agency one-time funding of 150,000. Um, this process is centered in KCRHA's theory of change, and all proposals will be reviewed to ensure completeness, alignment with program scope and budget feasibility, and KCRHA expects to award one agency. The rating team will recommend proposals to be funded, giving preference to proposals that meet KCRHA's minimum eligibility requirements, engage in outreach services with people experiencing unsheltered homelessness and SKC, practice harm reduction strategies, person-centered and trauma-informed approaches, data and reporting requirements for the homelessness management information system, ensure compliance with local laws and regulations, and advance equity for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, and individuals who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, intersex, asexual, two-spirit, and other members of the community, and individuals with disabilities. As I mentioned, our theory of change is centered through this process, and our theory of change is if we create a homeless response system that centers people with lived experience, then we will be able to focus on responding to needs and eliminating inequities in order to end homelessness for all. This RFP was released on October 24, 2024. And we are at the information session today, which is October 30th. The last day to email questions to the procurement team at rfp@kcrha.org is November 4th with a cutoff at 5 o'clock p.m. The application deadline is November 11th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Denial notifications will be sent out the week of December 2nd. Appeals will be due 5 business days after denial notification. Uh, the award notification and contract negotiations will begin the week of December 9th, 2024. And the contract start date will be January 1, 2025. I recognize that this is a quick turnaround for agencies and for applications, especially during the holiday season. These funds must be allocated by December 31st, which is why there is such a tight turnaround. And please note, an updated RFP will be posted later in the week. These are minor updates that will not impact any of the rating criteria or questions in the application, but just provide a little bit more clarification. The funding is King County American Rescue Plan Act funds. And again, it's 150,000 in one-time funds with the funding period of January 1st through December 31st, 2025. Agencies must adhere to the eligibility requirements in order to be able to be considered for this process. So agencies are required to meet KCRHA's minimum eligibility requirements. They're expected to adhere to current and appropriate COVID-19 safety guidelines and protocols. Unique entity ID and federal system for award management registration must be in good standing. Funded agencies will participate in data collection through King County Homelessness Management Information System to evaluate and improve the quality of their programming, and must be a nonprofit or faith-based organization. Any contract resulting from this RFP will be between KCRHA and the applicant organizations. Contractors will be required to comply with the terms and conditions of the KCRHA Master Service Agreement, and KCRHA will collaboratively establish and evaluate performance metrics with each grantee, which will be incorporated into each service contract or project service agreement, or PSA. Contracts will include requirements and details for amendments, terms and conditions, books, records, and document maintenance, reports and billing documentation, and protection and maintenance of confidential information. Please review the RFP for full details around these contracting requirements. Please follow all listed instructions in the RFP. We highly advise that applicants gather the required documents and begin writing any responses on a separate document before the Smartsheet form opens. So this application will be submitted via Smartsheet. So complete the Smartsheet form, which is very similar to a cover sheet. Complete your application response to the questions and rating criteria that's in the RFP. There is an editable 2024 South King County Outreach Services RFP application provided. Submit budget documents, including RFP budget detail form, RFP budget template for program and personnel, budget narrative, and then submit minimum eligibility documents. The Smartsheet form, the editable application, the budget detail form, budget template are all linked within the RFP, as well as the minimum eligibility document checklist. These are also linked within the Smartsheet form as well to give you all easy access to them. The minimum eligibility checklist looks a little different than our previous one as it has been updated. So even if you have applied for funding through us before, I highly suggest checking the checklist again. It is rather extensive, so I'm not going to go into detail, but please review it. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the procurement team. The selection process will include an eligibility screening and a review panel. The eligibility screening will verify that the application is complete with a response to all questions. Minimum eligibility documents have been submitted and are up to date, and that the application is submitted on time. The review panel will be made up of community members with lived and subject matter expertise. They will review the applications and score based upon the scoring criteria in the RFP, which we will review in just a couple minutes. Agencies will have to demonstrate the capacity to meet all the program and minimum eligibility requirements, and they must have a score over 70 to be considered eligible. So any agencies with a score of less than 70 out of 100 will not be considered. And then agencies must respond expeditiously to any clarifying questions or document requests. Failure to respond in a timely manner may result in an agency being deemed non-responsive and won't be considered. All right, so for more details on the actual project scope, as mentioned before, these are outreach services in South King County, which includes Algona, Auburn, Black Diamond, Berrien, Covington, Des Moines, Enumclaw, Federal Way, Kent, Maple Valley, Newcastle, Normandy Park, Pacific, Renton, SeaTac, Tukwila, and other unincorporated areas south of Seattle, including but not limited to East Federal Way, Fairwood, Hobart, Skyway, and White Center. I apologize for the small text on this screen. Please note this is all within the RFP itself. So the requirements for the program is for agencies to establish and maintain relationships and necessary information for residents at encampments and individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness in South King County. The agency selected will be able to prioritize. So we'll concentrate resources on encampments and unsheltered individuals that are determined to be the most vulnerable or need the most support. Collaborate with population-specific outreach agencies to provide services if an individual needs a tailored outreach. Coordinate with jurisdictions and other agencies on an ongoing basis with intensive coordination when a jurisdiction is planning to remediate an encampment area. Engage with, conduct, and report regular and ongoing outreach services with individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness and encampments. Engage with unsheltered individuals who face imminent risk of a serious or life-threatening injury and to assist those individuals voluntarily relocating or moving into housing or shelter. Support harm reduction and interim survival strategies for unsheltered individuals, including collaborating with municipal services as needed and other providers to address concerns such as risks of overdose and health and safety hazards. Establish relationships with local service providers, community organizations, and closely impacted community residents, and serve as a source of information and liaison, if appropriate, regarding encampment engagement. Identify the service and housing needs of each unsheltered individual. Outreach services are provided for. Engage in services, including appropriate referrals to housing and shelter, and maintain active contact with participants. Collaborate with other homelessness service providers to streamline engagement and holistically serve unsheltered individuals. Participate in ongoing evaluation and collaboration with KCRHA staff and community members. And then staff with regular interaction with participants must have de-escalation training and other support to provide trauma-informed and person-centered care. Eligible costs are for outreach supportive services only, which includes personnel and fringe benefits, operating costs, supplies, electronic equipment for outreach workers, staff pay incentives, COVID safety supplies, flexible client assistance, hotel vouchers, move-in costs, and transportation for clients. Ineligible excuse me. Ineligible costs include rental assistance and capital costs or repairs. And again, this is one-time funding. I am going to pass this over to Janelle, who will talk through requirements for the Homelessness Management Information System.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eli. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Janelle Rothfolk, and I'm here at KCRHA. I work in the data analytics, reporting, and research section of our organization, and happy to be here with you all to help explain the HMI's requirements and answer any questions you may have at the end. So a lot of the HMI's requirements will be based on standard HUD requirements for an outreach project type, which this contract would be. And you can see more specifics, all of those requirements in our continuous data quality improvement plan. And I'll add that link to the chat here in just a moment so you guys can have a copy of that. And in there, it will also describe the data completeness, accuracy, timeliness of the information here. One thing to note that if your organization is not a HMIS participating organization, that is fine. I would still apply if you're interested. We'll make sure that you have all of the information around data collection, and we would get you set up in the HMIS as an organization and make sure that you have all the proper training. So if some of this looks a little daunting, just know that we would provide all of the training for you guys. The data entry elements may include, it's dependent upon your individual agreement, so those would be discussed at a later date. but you could expect coordinated entry enrollments that would enable you to be able to refer clients to the coordinated entry system for housing matching. Outreach program enrollment, that's going to be a standard enrollment form that you would complete for clients that you are engaging with. That includes demographic information, services that you would be providing, and if there is, this would be for outreach services. If there was a period where you would be doing any kind of motel vouchering during our point in time count, we would also have a separate form that you would complete for that, but that would be one time. And I think that would be everything. They'll be further discussed in more details, and I'll be on the end to answer questions that you have. I'll turn it back over to you, Eli. Unless there's another slide for me.
That is it. Thanks so much, Janelle. I appreciate it. All right. As mentioned earlier, there's a review panel of lived and subject matter experts, and they will review applications and score based upon the scoring criteria in the RFP. So as you fill out the application, refer back to the rating criteria. The rating criteria is based off of the project scope we just reviewed. Agencies must demonstrate the capacity to meet all program and minimum eligibility requirements. There's a total of 100 points available, and as mentioned, agencies with a score of less than 70 will not be considered. Um, each, the rating criteria is broken up into sections with a total amount of points, and then each question within the application is worth a specific amount of points as well. We will just be reviewing the rating criteria today. And so agency experience and proposed approach is worth 25 points total, which includes the applicant demonstrating experience and a logical plan to execute the core components of their selected program areas, including an understanding and connection to race and social justice. Applicant describes how they will facilitate referrals and information sharing with associated non-congregate shelters, homelessness outreach agencies, and housing programs. And applicant provides detail about the anticipated number of people housed and anticipates serving an underserved population. All right. Then staffing is worth a total of 15 points. Staff positions and qualifications are designed to meet the needs of residents. Staff are, or an effective plan is in place for them to be trained in de-escalation and harm reduction and other supports. And the ratio of staff to participants is logical. Racial equity and social justice is 15 points. And that includes the applicant has a strong history and experience working with and supporting low income, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color communities and individuals impacted by institutional racism and poverty. Applicant understands the historical and systemic nature of oppression impacting the communities they propose to serve and proposes ways to undo these harms within their proposed program. Applicant demonstrates ethical decision-making and the ability to be flexible with client-centered needs. And the applicant explains their commitment to make changes over time to ensure clients are satisfied with their services and successfully transition to permanent housing. Partnerships is worth 15 points. And its applicant clearly describes who and how they will partner with individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness, encampments, local jurisdictions, and or other agencies in planning, implementation, and evaluation. For homelessness management information system and data management, it is a total of 15 points, and it includes applicant demonstrates substantial experience in managing HMIS or similar data and has specific examples of roles and responsibilities. Applicant provides a clear plan for ensuring compliance with data timeliness and completeness standards, including monitoring and reporting practices. Training strategies are comprehensive, addressing staff needs for using HMIS effectively while ensuring data privacy and security. And metrics for measuring impact on program effectiveness are specific, realistic, and aligned with the goals of the program served. And then finally, the budget is worth 15 points. Staff positions and qualifications are designed to meet the needs of clients. Applicant explains each budget item and its use clearly. Budget items seem logical and cost effective. And if funds are being used from other sources, applicant clearly lists the fund sources and budget allocations are clearly explained. So that is the overview of the RFP. If you have any questions after the session today, please email the procurement team at rfp@kcrha.org. Do not reach out to other staff about this funding opportunity. This is to ensure that you get the answers you need as fast as possible, and also that we keep this a fair process. The last day for questions is November 4th at 5 p.m. Anytime we get questions via email, we post the response on our funding opportunities webpage so that everybody has access to the same information. And we will respond to your email with a link to our response. On our funding opportunities webpage, we will also include the recorded information session from today. Um, and that will be under the RFP questions and answers tab. You will see a document that says South King County Outreach Services Q&A document that will include the link as well as a link to this slide deck. So you have access to the information and any links included in this slide as well. Also on our funding opportunities webpage is where we post all of our notices of funding availability, live funding opportunities, and the checklist for minimum eligibility requirements. All right. So thank you all for bearing with me for that presentation. We will open it up to Q&A. I see we already have one in the Q&A, so I will read that one off. If you can raise your hand, I will then call on folks to ask their questions. So the first one I see is, does the awarded agency determine which encampment or population is most vulnerable, or is that decided by KCRHA? I will hand this over to Marta and Abby Anderson, um, as they are the folks who you would be predominantly working with.
Yeah, thanks, Eli. Thanks for the question, Holly. No, it would not be decided by KCRHA. So that would be up to the awarded agency, although, of course, we would be working in communication and collaboration with one another. But we would not be ever like defining where to go, but we might be alerting you to certain areas that may need attention, but it would be up to the agency that's awarded.
Great. Thank you, Abby. Let me check the chat. I see we have a couple chats. Okay, I don't see any questions there. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right. It looks like we don't have any other questions. If anything does come up, feel free to reach out via email. And as I mentioned before, we will have an updated RFP up by this Friday. It will not impact the current questions or rating criteria. We'll just include a couple items with further clarification. With that, thank you all so much for attending, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.